Hey everyone, it's Zach with Palantir Research. Institutional buyers from Asia have ramped up their buying of Palantir recently, with one buying a fairly large position in relation to their fund, and the other doubling their holdings by increasing it by 123%, all from their latest 13F filings as of June 30th, 2023. So I'll go over the news first, but afterwards I'll talk about my thoughts on all the volatility and reinvigorated news coverage of Palantir as a company, but mostly their stock in recent times. So with the Asian buyers, the ones who started a new position, which was released on their most recent 13F filing, is called Yongrong HK Asset Management Limited, and they're an asset manager based out in Hong Kong with a peculiar approach to how they started their position with Palantir. They bought almost 3.8 million shares last quarter, with the latest market valuation of around $75.6 million at the time of the filing. Now, they aren't actually that all huge as a fund in my opinion, with around $230 million under management that we know publicly, and Palantir is actually one of their largest holdings of around 25% in total. So they're described as an alternative asset investment fund, so this can be one of their ways of showing their bet on the future with holding less big tech names besides Meta and going so heavily into Palantir. This will definitely be an institution to look out for in the future for the 13F filings, considering how heavy they started with Palantir just in relation to that percentage. Now, the other holding is a larger Japanese-based asset manager called Sumitomo Mitsui Trust Holdings. They have around $624 billion of assets under management, so much larger than the one before. And they doubled their position, so adding 5.8 million shares, bringing their total position to 10.4 million, which is an increase of 123.5%, valuing at filing of around $208 million stake at Palantir. So just like Yongrong, we want to pay close attention to this institutional buyer and see how they change their position over time in those different quarters. Now, I'm not advocating for blindly following the institutions, especially since this is always delayed information until it's actually disclosed in the filings. But it's a great meter to just see what has been happening in recent time, especially with the recent volatility with the stock price. Now, I just thought it was interesting to see that these were Asian institutions buying Palantir, because I've covered in the past when it comes to Hyundai for Korea and Sompo for Japan that East Asian institutions don't necessarily have this spy company prejudice against Palantir. So it's still a bright spot for me, honestly, considering this can help Palantir over the long term with their international commercial footprint in Asia. If they have large institutions investing in Palantir, it may bring some more comfort to the other large corporations there to do business with Palantir, which of course would increase their revenue. And that's with Palantir considering there are major owners in the company as well from their own country. So most likely you'll interface with the joint venture arm of Palantir for each of these countries, and that's going to still lower the friction of proceeding with deals. But that's just my speculation there. Now, the elephant in the room is the huge price volatility and run-up of Palantir stock in the recent short term. As I've mentioned before, my videos are just to bring news and my opinions on the company, and I rarely bring up the stock itself, maybe just noting the price has moved. So I'm just going to give my perspective here without lying, saying to buy, sell, hold, whatever you want, because everyone's risk profile and personal financial situation and goals are very different and should be decided by yourself. Palantir right now is a $40 billion company on the market. They are free cash flow positive, of course, growing their balance sheet at the moment, but do have questionable revenue growth in recent memory, at least from their last quarter. Now, the interest in AI, Palantir's AIP platform showcased at AIPCon, and the general good feelings on finding a pure AI play are all playing a factor here in the market for some, where they believe it justifies Palantir's metrics. There are many potential catalysts in the future and even now, like the S&P inclusion if they can stay GAAP profitable, closure around the NHS deal, which would be huge, Ukraine, of course, with all the information coming out with reconstruction, and then the surrounding Baltic states with Palantir growing their presence there, and possible acceleration of their business again from AIP. I mean, Alex Karp literally said they got as much inbound call from 1 month as they did all of last year. So just for perspective, that's a lot of inbound. But with hard numbers that are public now, we all know Palantir can be expensive by traditional metrics. But either way, there are some who believe they will execute and grow into that valuation, while others think there will be a price crash down right now to fit that valuation that they believe is true. Anything can happen, right? We saw 2020 and 2021 with the huge run-up and rise of many companies, not just Palantir, but also their crashes in 2022, some of them basically going bankrupt or even worth penny stocks, and even into 2023, though, with the recovery of some of these names, especially with Palantir. I personally bought throughout both of these times, and if your time horizon for a company like this is 5 or more years, this kind of price action is noise, but it is hard to hold onto and, of course, stomach that. But this is for myself though. I know there are many traders and short-term folks, which is perfectly fine for your own strategy. Do what's best there and do what your strategy calls for, especially if it's been doing well. But going into earnings, do your best to do what you believe is right for your own portfolio, buying, holding, selling, hedging something, using options, whatever you think. But let me know your thoughts on all this below, and I'll see you in the next video.